how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. The voice is getting a little bit better. You know, it's funny with these vocal things when you get the laryngitis. It doesn't, it comes on quick, goes away slow.
Yeah, but you know, it's nice. Now you're starting to sound mellow.
And they call me Mellow Billow.
You should send those tapes out while you have this resonant sound to your voice. Lots of stuff going on in the news. But, you know, there's a story floating around, Bill, that isn't getting a lot of traction. But I heard Carrie Lake in an interview with Rob Schmidt last night mention it. Apparently, they're investigating. Who did she say that they were investigating? Oh, my gosh. My brain is freezing. She said that they're, oh, gosh. Isn't this awful? This happens at this hour of the morning. But there are stories out there. Well, I'll give you a story. I'll get back to the Carrie Lake story in a second because I will think about it. But there's a story that Alex Jones, Alex Jones is, they describe him as a right-wing, or a conservative talk show host. But, he's been right a lot of times. He's been wrong. Like everybody. But he's been right. He floated a story yesterday which nobody's talking about. Apparently, they removed the Resolute desk from the Oval Office over the weekend.
No, that's true.
Because they found a bug in the desk, an eavesdropping device in the Resolute desk. You heard about that?
Yeah, I heard about it. I heard they were taking the desk out and the Dems were sitting there going, why would he want to change that? And I thought, well, why would they want to keep that desk? If he wants to change the way the decor of the office, he can. He's done it all over the White House. But, I had heard that there was speculation that there was something in the desk, i.e. a bug.
Yeah. I heard it was a bug. And but nobody's talking about it. And you got to wonder, why do they avoid topics like that? Now, nobody has said that's not a story, but nobody has gone after it. The other story I was talking about with Carrie Lake, this is something which, Carrie Lake said this on an interview, that Matt Gaetz had been tapped by Kash Patel to be a special prosecutor to investigate the Bidens, the previous administration. Now, nobody other than, this story was on X, okay? X is fairly reliable. This was on X. But Carrie Lake said it, and she, she's going to be the head of the Voice of America. She's part of the team in Washington now. And she said this in this interview, but nobody else is talking about it, Bill. I don't hear any of the other media mentioning this story at all.
I know. I think I sent you the story yesterday from the X. I'm not sure. I sent you a couple of things that were going on, but I want to go back to the desk. If there was a listening device in the desk, all right, and I don't doubt that. I think that device was there, and during Trump's first term, I think because how do they get the one up on everything unless they're listening? And Trump's way around it has been quick draw Trump. Yeah. He's got a gun with a lot of ammunition, so he keeps firing. But they know, and they have, they have their ducks in a row. I would tend to say that entire Oval Office and most of the meeting rooms in that White House are tapped.
Well, with Trump in office, and if that's the case, if that desk was bugged, then I would be willing to bet the entire White House is going to be swept. With Trump in there, he's going to make darn sure there's no bug anywhere. If he can't be in a situation where it's completely private in the Oval Office, then And by the way, whoever's tapping him should be arrested for treason.
And publicly, tried, and whatever their sentence is, don't let them sit in a jail. If they've done that, the Dems were so quick on January 6th. He needs to be tried and publicly executed for something that was fabricated. This is not fabricated. This is real. So you know what? Your form of justice needs to come back to play for real.
And by the way, we talked about the Matt Gaetz possibly being made a special prosecutor, but no talk of that. We're going to keep an ear to the rail on that one to make sure to see whether that's a true story or not.
Boy, talk about poetic justice, though. Huh?
Yeah. Ooh. But listen to this. Kash Patel has launched an investigation. This one is out there.
Yes.
He's investigating James Comey's secret honeypot operation involving two undercover agents who targeted Trump's 2016 campaign. So it ain't over till it's over, folks. And
wouldn't that go back to maybe the bug in the desk and everything else?
Oh, yeah.
Back then and now?
Yep.
And is that not treason? Is that not we're just not talking about sabotage. But, I remember the Watergate scandal and what happened with that and how the left went. But if they are participating in something and connected to something in 2016.
I wonder if it's the same guys. I wonder if they tapped his, what we're talking about is just before he went into office, when he won the election in 2016, or 2015, he ascended 20, and when he was going to be the 2016 president, did I get that right? Anyway, when he won, there was that, pre-swearing in period of time, 2 months or so, where he was working on a Trump Tower. And it's been proven that they bugged Trump Tower, and that was supposedly the FBI. Now, if they did it back then and got away with it, wouldn't they think that they could do it again during this administration?
Absolutely. And it was probably the same players, and it would be interesting to see. They're not going to tell who gave the order, but I would say it would go back to Obama.
Yeah.
And the Clintons. I think they're players. And if they are, I'm sorry, I don't care about their decorated past. If they've done something heinous like that, then and now, they're treasonous.
And
you know what?
People may say, well, when could they bug the desk? I'll tell you when Joe Biden was in Delaware. And Biden may have been very knowledgeable of the fact that they were going to do it. Biden might have said, sure. Biden might have said, go ahead, I'll be away over the weekend, get it done. So, but...
well, while Biden was president, no decisions were made in the White House. None. Not by him, not in his office.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, but here's what I do know. Some of these stories are starting to get traction. And it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing people being arrested. By the way, they can't be just dismissed this time around. None of this, we caught you, you're fired. No, it's we caught you, you're under arrest. Because what a lot of these guys have done is treason. That's my opinion. So,
No. And you know what? Now, the media is not going to give up the time, but, they sure did the Inquisition for Trump on something that was cooked up by Pelosi and Schumer and Schiff and probably the help of the Obamas and Hillary, with the January 6th committee.
Yeah.
Which they they throttled evidence, and yet they didn't produce anything, but boy, did they sure do a public execution of them.
Another story which I got to ask you about, there's a rumor going around, and a lot of people, by the way, are getting a little ticked off about this, that Pam Bondi is suppressing the release of the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
And, we expected it to come out almost automatically, and it's been sitting on her desk, or she's been holding back on it. Now you're hearing the conspiracy theorists say, well, it's because Trump's in there or something, or somebody will be embarrassed by the names. That's neither here nor there. They promised to release it, and I think they've got to release it ASAP. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen the story. I was just reading it this morning again, and I don't know how I'm formulating the opinion. I don't fear anything of Trump because he talked big about it and he said he was going to do it. So he's got
Yeah, and
in his mind
he also said, Bill, that he only time he was on an Epstein flight was from Mar-a-Lago to New York. He didn't go to the island.
and that was proven. But
Yeah.
now there's a lot of things that could come into play. Maybe maybe the reason they're sitting on it is because it's a piece of a bigger puzzle, and they want to have all the pieces before they drop it. So in other words, there could be something so devastating that you want to have all your ducks in a row and drop it at the right time.
Yeah. Well, these are the stories, folks, that are out there that are floating around, and some hammers are going to fall pretty soon. So I wouldn't. Everyone, but it's been going so quickly, this administration, that you almost expect it to be instantaneous. It's like the fast food of administrations. It's like every day there's a major new topic. Something new has been signed by Trump. He's doing this, he's doing that. I mean, the other big story out there is apparently there's a deal with the Ukraine.
Yeah, that happened yesterday.
Yeah, and this is a big story, folks, because if this mineral deal with the Ukraine happens, then apparently it's the major step, not the first step. It's the major step towards the cessation of the fighting. And I think Russia wants to stop it. They've lost a lot of people. People say, well, they can lose a lot more. Nobody wants to lose a lot more of anything, especially soldiers, And
Right.
So I think that Russia probably feels, look, if we can get out of this quagmire now, even though people say, well, they started. Well, yeah, they did. I think they thought they could end it a lot quicker. It didn't happen. And I think they look at it right now as this could be another Afghanistan. They were in Afghanistan for a lot of years, too. Russia was. And, that was before us. And I think they're thinking, maybe we should get out of this. And if they get out, if they can work a deal now with the United States and the Ukraine, maybe they don't win big, but they don't lose big either. They can actually, if there's no deal struck, they could actually win the war, but really kind of lose in the end because they may lose a lot of soldiers.
Right. The with this deal with the Ukraine, I think the Russia can prosper from it too. And it preserves peace between the two, and that's a good thing. But it's not over there. There's a big story coming out of China that they are building the world's biggest underground command center.
Yeah, that's a big story.
They want to go to war with the United States. Now think about it. Now you're going, that'll never happen. But you've got that entire coastal line of factories that were built that they were doing. Apple was there, and Apple's out of there, and other major players that have taken things and producing them in China, they're coming back to the United States. The money is leaving, and they don't have the arsenal that the United States or Russia has.
I don't know whether they can afford to go to war, though. Now, war is expensive, by the way. It's expensive with, the cost of human life, but there's also a lot of money involved in war. Mm-hmm. And if they're, everything I read right now is that China is in a bad financial state. And, I mean, it's hard to imagine because they were in like flint, as they would say, financially for a number of years, but apparently they are having a hard time economically, and Trump is not helping out. And I think that Xi Jinping wants to have a relationship with Trump, and I think that he probably feels that if he can sit down with Trump too, maybe they can work something out that's more beneficial to both countries.
Right. Well, he's going to want to have some kind of manufacturing there, but we've got to get our home, squared away, and we need to have back our production capabilities in our companies, producing from here. We can't give it away.
Remember that Chinese balloon that went across the country about a year and a half ago? Do you know that most of the electronics on it were made in the USA? I read this story. I thought, my God, most of the electronics. You wonder how did they get our electronics to put in their balloon? But it was the Biden administration, and I mean, the fact that they let it go across our country without taking it down is mind-boggling.
Well, I think some of it happened before the Biden administration. I think it happened during the Obama-Biden administration. There were a lot of things going on, with it. And I think if Hillary would have gotten in, it would have continued.
Their weak excuse was they didn't want it to fall into a populated area, but it flew over thousands of miles of wilderness. They could have knocked it down over Montana, which is a lot of trees, folks. There's a lot of trees in Montana, but they didn't do it. They just let it go over a lot of our military bases. Interesting thing about that balloon, if you remember, it didn't just float in one direction. When it got around the bases, it kind of became stationary and maybe did a circle around the bases.
Well, let me ask you a question. In our bread belt, where the farms and the crops and everything are in the Midwest.
Right.
For years, that is where we've had our silos and missiles. Now, we've decommissioned a lot of those, but they have been replaced with other things in that region. What other things? Where are they? And the easiest way to do it is fly a balloon over and map it and remap it. Now, back in the day, there was a time we had 18, 20,000 nuclear warheads. Russia had upwards to 30,000. China, supposedly they're in the hundreds. But I figured it out. You can level the land here and make it a wasteland with minimum 100 bombs, maximum 300. So you could sit there out of our 3,900 or 4,200 bombs. You spend 300 of them, you still got an arsenal. Of 3,900 bombs.
I'm surprised that China didn't fly just a drone. If they only knew how easy it was for drones to fly over the U.S. Do you know that there are still drones flying over New Jersey? Right now, today, there are still drones. The media has lost interest in it, but they're still there. And Trump came out and said they had FAA approval. There's more to the story. Something's going on, and even this administration is hesitant to talk about it. If it's us, Bill, we should say, look, it's our stuff, and we're doing some testing. Period.
Well, you could, but then again, you're either gonna open the door for the media to go and attack something that they shouldn't be having their nose in, or you're gonna cause widespread panic. And even though Trump is boisterous, even he knows there are certain things that you just don't talk about.
Well, I think the population is a little tired of their everything's a secret approach to life. I think that there have to be secrets, but when they're flying them over your house every night, when those secrets are above your property, I heard a lawyer say, in reality, you own your property and everything above it right into the stratosphere. If you take your house and the plot of your property and go directly up, it's yours. That being said, you can't prove it. You can't. It's hard to prove that there was an incursion on your property. I think they should be more forthright. We're still waiting to hear on what happened in Butler last summer, or July 13th. We should know what happened during that assassination attempt. But no.
I think you're going to have to tear down the bureaucracy, because I think there's a lot of things they want to release, but they can't. They're being blocked in every step of the way. You've got judges that are coming out of the woodwork. Everything that Trump is trying to say, okay, let's cut this budget, let's do this, and they're coming out. So, I think we got to get our house in order. Are they purposely blocking things? Yes and no. And, is the news that we're getting 100% correct? No. And we are not getting the correct news, even with the administration in and lies are being shown. The left is still doing what they do. They control the media and they are using it. So, I don't hold a lot of weight to the fact that, Bondi is withholding stuff. I'm willing to give it a little bit of time. We've waited this long. Let's give it some time. They said they're going to release it. Let's give them the chance to do what they got to do and release it in due time. If he doesn't release it, by the end of the administration, then I would go, all right, what stinks here? And why wouldn't you release it? But I think
you mentioned there's something to be said for patience, but we've been patient since last July.
Yeah, now
but
we're getting
there's a lot of people like my age who we've been patient since 1963 on Kennedy.
Right.
How about a little honesty here? Most of the people who were involved in that, in the assassination of President Kennedy, most of them are dead. Heck, Clint Hill, the Secret Service agent who protected Jackie Kennedy in that assassination attempt, he died yesterday.
Yeah.
So
93.
The guy was a hero. He, if you remember, he was the guy who jumped up onto the back of the limousine and literally pushed Jackie Kennedy back into the car because she was climbing over the trunk to get a piece of her husband's head. And
let me ask you a question here. Well, let's just go back to the Epstein thing. All right, that gets released. We know that there's going to be a lot of attention to it and a lot of scrambling. Could it be such a big distraction that it covers up other things that they want to bring to the light of day?
Oh, good. That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. If there are major Hollywood actors or film directors who are found to be pedophiles, it may clog up the news cycle, and the big stories, the very big stories, get no traction at all.
Yeah, and we need to keep the focus on the operation of the government and the people. Okay, take Tulsi Gabbard. All right, her new appointment. It turns out there was a secret chat room, in that agency where they had transgenders and sexual deviants who were going to be handed their pink slip because they saw the chat room where they were discussing their transgender and sexually deviant fantasies, and maybe even about Tulsi that she's in.
Well, these are people who are on the doing on government time. They're supposed to be working. This is the National Security Administration, and you would think they'd be spending 24/7 or at least 8 hours a day doing their job. But apparently some of these guys were, like Bill said, were talking about their sex dalliances on this chat room, which is...
Look, I don't care about your sexual preclusion, but if you're a deviant and doing something that is harmful to people and whatnot, I got a problem with that. But your life is your life. But when it interferes with our business, and it has no place in the workforce, you want to be freaky deaky, you do it behind your closed doors and don't film it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it.
Something else happened big yesterday. A lot of people are talking about it.
On this vote, the ayes are 217, the nays are 215. Majority voting in the affirmative, the concurrent resolution is adopted.
The House of Representatives passed the spending bill yesterday, 217 to 215. Thomas Massey was the only representative to vote no. He apparently wanted more cuts. But, I mean, there are $2 trillion in cuts in this budget. I'd say that's a pretty good step in the right direction. That's not $2 billion. That's $2 trillion worth of cuts. So,
yeah. And you know what? You look at Doge and what they're doing. Then now the media will trivialize it. Well, $64 million here. That's a drop in the bucket. But they have found trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
But they don't talk about that. No, they want to take something small and trivialize it. And people like James Carville come out and go, oh, the Republican Party is going to implode, and the media is quick to pick up on it. Now, you got to realize the media is running around in circles, chasing their own rear ends because they're trying to figure out how do we stay afloat, because they don't know, they might have gotten money funneled out of the government in certain programs that Trump is turning off the spigot on. They might have got it from their Democratic donors who have said enough is enough. You have no clue, no leadership, no proper agenda, nothing. Your money is cut off. And so the propaganda machine is being shut down.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know whether this budget is... Look, nothing is perfect in Washington, okay? You never get the perfect bill. For Thomas Massie to be messing around, he should have voted with the other Republicans, but I get the impression he likes to be talked about. He likes to be the exception. He's done this a couple of other times, and this is nonsense. Get on board the train. If the Democrats do anything, they always vote in lockstep, no matter what they say in the aisles.
That's right. Well, because the Democrats support one another.
Yeah.
Republicans don't. This guy is running for office in 2 years, and he's already campaigning.
Well,
he's going
to have, I'm sure the people in his district voted for Trump, and I would think that he's jeopardizing his reelection campaign. But all Trump has to say is, I'm throwing my weight behind a primary challenger, and that may be the end of Mr. Massey's career. But, hey, who knows?
And just, what, if he's going to be primary down, do it now. And make sure, because you don't want the Democrats look at all these little weak, nattering nabobs and negativism, and they sit there and go, okay, we can attack him, and they will, and they'll put the money behind it, and they'll get that seat. They'll pick off one at a time.
Another thing that's happening, did you hear about the
Southwest Airlines?
Self-deportation. In an effort to compel self-deportation, the Trump DHS says illegal aliens must register online a database or face time in prison and fines. They've got to say that they're here, who they are, where they are, and if they don't do it by the end of the month, I believe, they can be fined $5,000 or sentenced to 6 months in prison. But
so they got to self-identify. If
right.
they don't, then you're a wanted man.
Yeah. So if you are an illegal, you got to register. Period. Now people may say, and the left is going nuts. Oh, how can you do that? Well, let me tell you, the Trump administration is actually using a law that was around in 1943 to do this during World War II. We wanted to know how many, not illegals, but how many immigrants were in the country, where they were, what their nationalities were, just in case. And so this is not like a brand new rule that was created by Trump. It's just something which is being utilized. But the left doesn't want any of this. They don't want the government to know where the illegals are, which is mind-boggling. They're absolutely on the wrong side of this. But then again, Bill, the left, our friends on the left, they are not rational thinkers when it comes to politics. They lost big time in the past presidential election. You would think that they would sit down and reevaluate everything. Who did we have running against Trump, and why did we do that? Maybe next time around we should have somebody who's more mainstream, somebody who is not going to rock the boat. Maybe next time we all have a different approach. Don't be the constant rebel. Maybe we be a party of building up as opposed to tearing down. But no, they continue in their loss. They continue to tear themselves down. And when I hear Carville say, 30 days from now, he's going to, this administration is going to, no, James, you are so frigging irrelevant right now, by the way. I mean, I have no idea where you get your thoughts from. You screwed up big time this election for your party. You had everything wrong. And people still run back to you with microphones It's because they're leftists too. But they run back to you like you're some sort of a god or guru and want to know what James Carville thinks. I think, sir, that you are thinking irrationally about politics right now. You know, Trump, by the way, and we mentioned this yesterday, they talk about, well, you know, Trump is going to show himself, and in 30 days it's going to be the end of his administration. No, he's just beginning. He is just beginning. Yeah, there'll be mistakes. But I mentioned this yesterday on our show. This administration has a unique, one-of-a-kind relationship with its voting populace, with its supporters. They have President Trump is thought of, even though he's a billionaire, which is amazing. He's thought of as one of us. You know, he is. His son describes him as the blue-collar billionaire. And it's true. Trump is a blue-collar billionaire. You see him, even on the campaign, the guy gets in a garbage truck, all right? He drives around in a friggin' garbage truck. He goes over to McDonald's and works the drive-through window. I mean, that is the kind of guy who Trump is. He takes a bullet to his head, gets up and raises his fist like, go get him, folks. You know? And this is the kind of guy we have. So, Mr. Carville, don't think for 1 second that if he screws up a couple of times as he's trying to right this ship that you guys have flooded, you know, don't think for 1 second if he screws up, we're going to abandon him. That's not going to happen. No,
well, you
trust
know, that
me.
bullet to the head, that privileged little rich guy thing that they had, that he was a wimp, he was a weasel. You know, the fact that he got up and, you know, he grabbed his ear and he went down and then he got up, that fist up. You know, that tells you that, you know, this guy, you know, he's not going to let us scratch a gunshot or anything. I mean, you could have shot him in the shoulder. He would have got up, you know, and that was a big statement when he did it. And I don't think it was planned. Obviously, it wasn't. It was planned on the left, not planned by him. It wasn't intentional to sit there and go, oh, this is a chance. He instinctively got up.
You know, Bill, people forget this. He had just been shot. Nobody, by the way, had told him when he got up and raised his fist, nobody had told him, it's all clear, sir. There's no more shooters out there. He didn't know that when he got up that he wouldn't be shot again. But the getting shot, it pissed him off. Pardon my it made him more resolved, angrier. When he got up, he was ready to fight. And he was telling the audience, get out there. The message continues. You know, we're going to take back this country.
But right now, they're stacking a lot of dominoes up. When you look at everything that they're doing and everything they're going after, and judges are blocking it, but these dominoes are standing. And at some point, we're going to get these judges out of the way, and there's going to be a little flick of the finger, and they're all going to fall down.
Yeah,
and
don't you think, Bill, that these judges this whole process right now it's almost a process to get these justices to come out of their holes, to raise
popping their heads up.
Yeah, and by popping their heads up, we know where they are, who they are, and what has to be, you know, I don't mean that. I mean they have to be removed. For example, there's a movement right now in Congress to get one of them impeached.
Yeah, and you know, and the guy deserves it too. But you know, I think the whole judicial system has to be taken a look at, because you do not empower these guys to be mini gods to where they are, you know, whatever they say goes. You know, damn the Constitution. You know, damn everything. Whatever they say goes. You know, I'm sorry. And so if you're appointed by the left, you're a lefty. It's kind of like the Pope right now.
Yeah.
You know, he stacked the cardinals so that when he's gone, guaranteed lefty cardinal in there.
Yeah, that's true.
As a pope. And I'm sitting there going, what a Christian thing to do. You know, really.
Well, he's many people, including myself, think he's more of a politician than a theologian. Hey, one more. We got to take a pause here and remind people that we have a product on our store website called Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's delicious. It's a medium blend coffee, and it's a medium decaf blend coffee, too, for those of you who can't have the high test of coffees for blood pressure reasons, things like that. It's a delicious cup of coffee. It's a great way to start your day, and it's a great way to tell your friends. You sit down over a cup of Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, maybe one of the first things that the person will say, well, I never heard of this coffee before. Who are Jim and Bill? What's this Right Side Coffee? And it gives you a chance to tell your friend about our show and help get the word around, too. So you'd be doing us a favor. By the way, we don't become rich with this coffee. People are saying to me, oh, hey, Jim, you and Bill are going to be the Juan Valdez of the coffee business, and we only get a percentage of the profit, and that goes to promotion of our show. So, I'm not buying any new cars with this, but we would appreciate your participation, helping us out. We don't ask you for contributions to this show, but we do ask you to try the coffee, and in a way, that too will help us grow as a show too.
Exactly. It's good stuff, so get it today. Get it at rightsideshop.com. You can go to our website, it's anotherday.com. Look for the shop at the top of the page, but either way, get it. There's other, like I like to call them, tchotchkes in there.
Well, anybody who listens to this show regularly knows that a couple of days ago, you could hardly understand what Bill was saying. But because he drinks Right Side Coffee, because he enjoys Right Side Coffee every day, he's getting more and more like his old self. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a little clogged up today myself. I'm wondering.
I'm sorry. Your throat, I tell you, it works.
Well, I got to drink more of our Right Side Coffee. But it is delicious, and like Bill said, it's available right now at rightsideshop.com. Or you can go to our website, it'sanotherday.com, and hit the button.
And let me tell you something too, ladies. If you're nursing your child, your children,
yes,
a bottle of Right Side coffee, chilled. You don't want to give it to them hot, but chilled coffee, on a regular daily basis. Your boys will grow up to be manly men.
Well, you might want to give them decaf at that age.
Do what?
You might want to give them decaf at that age,
Well, you might want to, but just make sure you give them that, and they'll grow up to be men. The girls will grow up to be pretty young ladies.
Yes.
And there you go.
It's recommended.
Because Right Side Coffee, I wouldn't lie about that.
It's recommended by baby doctors everywhere.
That's exactly right.
Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee with, of course, Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers here every day to sing our jingle.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
That's Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers. Are they going to, go to that site and register their names, or are they going to avoid it and get a fine of $5,000? What do you think?
I think that they're going to register, and because I would encourage them to, because they might get a pass and get to stay.
I don't know about that. I think it's a way for them to find out where they are, so that they can. But I also think that a lot of people are going to say, "Hey, if I sign this thing, they're going to know where I am, and they're going to come and get me. And if I don't sign it, I risk going to jail or a $5,000 fine. Honey, pack up the stuff. We're going home." Especially, people don't realize that there are some people who are here from down south. And, they're living like in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York, which, by the way, they're closing. The mayor of New York has decided to close that.
Done.
Yeah, no more living in the Roosevelt Hotel free of charge.
Well, they say they're the honey, pack up the stuff. We're going home. I think they're going to leave their stuff and just get the hell out of here quick. If you want to move and move fast, you travel light.
Yeah, well, that could happen, and they probably have enough money saved now from all the money we've given them to fly back. I don't think they had to cross the border the way they got here.
You know what? You sit there and say, you know what? We'll give you free border kits to get home. Got to make it to the border. You come to the border, get your kit, keep going. Good luck. And here's instructions how you can properly become a U.S. citizen if you choose to do so. But right now, you got to go.
Yeah, that's I think that you're going to see a big movement in that direction. The border crosses, people coming into the country, it's down like 95%.
Yeah.
It's amazing, Scott Jennings on CNN was talking. I don't know how he does. I don't know how he works there. He's always in a group surrounded by a bunch of loony leftists.
Well, he's the token.
Well, the other thing is, but when he's talking, when he's doing his thing, when he's starting to make a very good point, they start talking over him like the left always friggin' does. Instead of letting him finish his thought, they have to start screaming over him. What he was talking about was that the troublemakers, the rabble rousers in Washington don't rabble when there's a Democrat in office. Only happens when a Republican administration is there. Listen.
This is the push and pull of when a Republican is the president. There's an attempt when a Republican's in the White House, Donald Trump or any other Republican, to argue that these federal agencies, federal workers, the bureaucracy, sort of can act independently or autonomously from the political leadership of the country. And that's what's happening here. That's why everyone is melting down. That's why the lady came on CNN today. They don't want to answer the email because they don't want to answer to the president. And the message from Trump and Musk is we have political leaders in this country and you got to answer to
I'm
it.
not following you. Are you saying, you suggesting that it's only when Republicans are president that
100%.
agencies express independence?
Yes.
Well, you know that that's not true.
No, I know it is 100% true that the bureaucracy is not aligned with, mostly not aligned with Republicans.
There are career civil servants who work with one president and another, and do so for the Constitution and the love of country.
And they just go on like that, unbelievable. But let me just say one thing, Bill. All you have to do, if you don't believe that, is think back to not too long ago when Karine Jean-Pierre had a press conference. The lapdogs in the media sat quietly in the press room. They hardly asked any important questions. What kind of ice cream did Joe have when he was in Delaware? I mean, they literally did nothing for 4 years. When Trump gets in, they're jumping all over each other to get a question in. So Trump is always there for him. That's the other thing. Trump has his open access policy is such that they're getting to a point where they haven't got a lot to say because we just talked to him half an hour ago in the other room. He's very accessible as opposed to Biden, who couldn't get out of literally, Biden used to make a comment and he would escape like the room was on fire,
Yeah, but he'd look back at you like, smirk and go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, I said it, and you can't say nothing, boo-boo. Which he probably did a boo-boo all the time. For them to say they are career, what would they say? They're career civil servants?
Yeah.
No, they're not a civil servant. But, if you're in the media, you are a public servant, and that's that. You're not paid to sit there and spew your negativity and your opinion. You're paid to serve the public and, and give them the news without your take on it and your diatribe. That's an editorial. And that means there's equal time, which there's no such thing in the media today. And it kind of, maybe not today, but it does drive a point that I was actually driving yesterday, and I realized something that's gone on in the media, and it's not healthy. It's not good, and it just goes back from somebody that I respected a long time ago that said something that was very important, and we've kind of lost one of the core protective things of our country.
Well, I think that you are meaning that the media used to be a guard between them and us. But you always, when you had an honest media, although I have to tell you, Bill, thinking back historically, I don't know how honest they were, even in the times when the public thought they were honest. I'll give you an example. During World War II, FDR was in a wheelchair. He had polio.
Yeah, that's right.
But 99 and 4400% of the time, you never saw him in the wheelchair. You saw him he would be propped up at a podium. He would be protected by the media. When John F. Kennedy was screwing around with interns in the White House, the media knew about it. The media knew of his dalliances and didn't say a word. No, they projected an image of Camelot. Remember Camelot? They projected Camelot to the world. It was an idyllic administration. Jackie was the queen, and JFK was the king, and all was right with the world in Washington. And that wasn't the case.
And I don't believe in kings and queens. That's not what we're about, and why they wanted to do that. And that's something the Democrats kind of, portrayed out there. We didn't really break off from England, did we? If we're doing that, my point was a lot different. And one the point that somebody once made, he said, it's the power of the spoken word, which is true. And when a foreign invading country comes in, one of the things that they do is they take out communication. They take out the local radio stations and whatnot. We've taken them out ourselves. I mean, big businesses come in. We've automated them. We've done away. We're throwing away the licenses. TV stations now are going, we can do the internet. Now think about it. In a crisis situations, we used to hear, the emergency broadcast tones go off, even the test. And if we were to be invaded, all right, you would have to take out 20,000 signals, AM signals, and then the FM signals, and then the TV signals around the country. They were all independent of each other. And that was an independent lifeline. You couldn't take them all out. And we were safe. But, big business, consolidation, now we don't need those licenses. We're all on the internet.
That's a good point. I was just going to say, I know of a radio station. I know actually of several that have given up their broadcast license and continue to broadcast on the internet.
You can take out the internet, which has been proven many times over.
Yes.
With one piece of software, one glitch, and it's gone. If somebody wanted to take over this country, they would do it while we slept. We'd get up in the morning, we'd turn on our computer, our smart device, and find out Alexa's got a Chinese voice or a Russian voice or a Hezbollah voice. Either way, it could be overridden. And it's blanket. And now they control the narrative. And I'm sitting there going, we have given up that security blanket that we've had, and we can still get it back. But the power of the spoken word is important. And we've given away the FM dial. We gave away the AM dial.
Well,
Take the damn thing back.
And I don't want to get into the weeds about broadcasting, okay?
No, this is not. This is about security.
But what I want to say is that Bill said the AM band, they've created an environment in the past few years where now you have former radio people, former management in radio saying, AM's done. AM's not important anymore. AM's not a big deal. I'm telling you, folks, this is stupidity on the part. This is suicide on the part of broadcasting. AM radio is still a viable commodity. You may say, well, the kids don't listen to it. Hey, you give them a product to listen to, for crying out loud, they might listen. Well, case in point, a lot of the kids still listen to sports radio stations around the country who are on the AM dial, because they're listening for the sports, So, but the fact is, every other format in the business they've abdicated it. They've stuck the radio stations on computers in closets. And literally, I'm not saying figuratively here. I'm saying they have literally put them into a little computer somewhere and stuck it in a closet somewhere, and there's no more real people running them. And then they complain, well, AM's not viable. Horse pucky.
Look,
go ahead, Bill.
There's enough signals out there. Everybody can have a voice. And I think that's important, whether, it is a white voice, a black voice, an Indian voice, whatever. We have a lot of different nationalities that make up the whole of the United States.
But you know what, Bill, I would do differently? Seriously. Maybe people may call me wrong on this, and that's their prerogative. I think that right now in this country, if you want to bring it back to being the America that we all know and love, the unique melting pot, the country that when people came over here, they learned the language. The language, by the way, is English.
Universal.
It's English in this country. I seriously think that one of the problems we have done is we've allowed all these foreign language radio stations to pop up all over the place and to accommodate the people, as opposed to trying to embrace them and bring them into this society. They've allowed them to continue their isolation in their own little worlds, you know? I mean, I look, for example, down in Florida. The Cuban population, I think, has done a magnificent job assimilating over the years. I mean, I think, look at Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, I believe, is of Cuban descent. And the man speaks multiple languages. He's brilliant, articulate. He's a product of that community.
Look,
go ahead.
Radio can be the lifeline to your community. It can be a national security lifeline. And, you know, the professional civil servants, you know, that's horsepucky. But you are a public servant. You're a public trustee to, you know, be there at the will and the benefit of the community. And so you go out and you do things like that. You don't sit there and do. Walter Cronkite was a big time lefty, but he never sat there and gave his opinion. He reported the news as it was. And to that, I give the man great respect, you know, because he held in his opinion. I think the only thing he did to put his signature was, and that's the way it was.
No, that's the way it is. Yeah. What he did do, though, seriously, and this surprised a lot of people, during the Vietnam War, at the very end of the war, he started to let his viewers know that it was a mistake to be there and we should get out.
Yeah.
And that was, and everybody talked about it, like, oh, Walter Cronkite says we should leave.
Yeah,
when the government loses Walter Cronkite, maybe we should get out, you know?
Well, it wasn't his place to do it. Now, if it was an editorial, this is an editorial piece, then you say
it really wasn't. He actually kind of interjected it in his stories.
Yeah, I'm saying, but that's the way it should be presented, as an editorial.
Yeah.
And
by the way, some people
you can answer it.
Some people may point to that as the beginning of the media sticking its nose into places where it shouldn't have been sticking its nose.
Well, and then that's the left slant. He did well for so long until that.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm just saying, I drove through a small town yesterday, and it was actually usually you see small towns that have nothing. Every storefront had a store in it, nice stores. And I was going, it's a quaint little town, like a throwback to yesterday. And I said, this would be the place as a broadcaster. I would sit there and get a local AM station with an FM throw in and do the live thing and just focus locally. And you're there, not only that, as a safety umbrella too, in times of emergency, natural disasters, national disasters. Just a point, it's an opinion. I think we've given away a lot in this country.
And maybe that'll change. Who knows? Maybe things will change. I do think that there's a lot of mistakes that have been made over the last 30 years, and hopefully they'll be rectified.
Right.
I'm looking at the clock on the wall. See where the United Kingdom is falling in line with President Trump's demand that the European countries pay their fair share of their own defense.
Yes.
Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister in England, got on the floor of Parliament and talked about it.
Starting today, I can announce this government will begin the biggest sustained increase in defense spending since the end of the Cold War. Yeah. We will deliver our commitment to spend 2.5% of GDP on defense, but we will bring it forward so we reach that level in 2027. And we will maintain that for the rest of this Parliament. Going forward, we will recognise the incredible contribution of our intelligence and security services to the defence of the nation, which means taken together, we will be spending 2.6% on our defence from 2027. I've long argued that in the face of ongoing generational challenges, all European allies must step up and do more for our own defence. So, subject to economic and fiscal conditions and aligned with our strategic and operational needs, we will also set a clear ambition for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP in the next Parliament.
Yeah. I like how the British in their parliament, they always voice in key points. Yeah. You know, the thing is, folks, if I were a British citizen, what I would say to Prime Minister Starmer is, wait a second, this is all well and good, but don't you think we gotta fix the problem internally in this country before we start talking about defending this country, in Europe? I mean, yes, it's important they defend themselves, but they've got a major problem right now in Great Britain when it comes to illegals and people who are there who weren't there not too long ago.
Right.
I will never understand how a country that doesn't share a border with another country, England's an island, friends. It sits out in the middle of the ocean, right? Essentially, and yet they have got a massive illegal problem in Great Britain. They had to knowingly allow these people to come into this country, into that country, just like we did on our southern border, except those people had to come in on like boats and trains or planes, and now they've really taken a large chunk of the population. You go into London, they say it's not the London of yesteryear. There's a lot of strangers who are in London, and by the way, they're talking about these people, these strangers are talking about taking over your country, not assimilating into your country. They're talking about making you, the British citizen, capitulate, which I think is awful. You have an identity, Great Britain. And we have listeners in Great Britain. You have an identity. It is unique. It is historic. And you should never abandon that. You should never let that go. Good, bad, or indifferent, you have centuries of history that you are about to lose. You're about to let these strangers come in and take away from you, and that should never be allowed to happen. I was thinking maybe I have 5% British lineage in my. People say you're Irish. Yeah, I'm mostly Irish, but I have some English and some Scotch. I like to say that's my English speaking. Okay, whatever is yours, hang on to it. Don't let it go. Be uniquely Great Britain. Don't let it slip away from you. Don't just sit by idly and watch the telly and let your country slip away. One of the things about the United States of America, whether you like us or not, there's a massive amount of people who were very upset with what happened in our elections in 2020. And
yes.
they did something about it. They got rid of Biden. All of the stuff you're hearing right now about Trump and Doge and all that stuff, that's because the people in this country did it. They came and they stood up for it. Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say, we're paving the way. The Democrats like to say, our Constitution, our democracy, and it's like, no, it's not yours. It is the democracy, the Constitution. It's everybody's. But what is happening right now with Doge and everything else, we are clearing the way for everybody's Constitution, everybody's democracy. And when it's done, the slate will be even and clean again. And that's an important thing to happen.
Well, one of the things about our country is people say, you just start to get things going right and you change your administrations and you're constantly in a change of flux. Well, you are too in Great Britain, except we have to wait the 4 years. In Great Britain, they can have a no confidence vote and you can get rid of a prime minister tomorrow, and by the way, I would submit that a lot of you guys should start using that stuff more often in Great Britain. If you have a guy in there and he's screwing up your country, get rid of the guy. Don't wait around for him to screw your system up. I think that I listened to what happened. We had Macron in the United States this past week. He's a charming guy, articulate, speaks multiple languages, speaks English pretty well. He charmed the American media. Oh, they were all over themselves. They were stepping on their tongues, trying to get a question in and wasn't he great? But while he was here in this country and President Trump was being nice to him, his administration was closing down a media operation, an opposition media network in France. And that's what we call censorship, okay? And they were closing it down, period. They didn't like what they were doing. They were closing it up. But they don't talk about that. Our media fails us big time, which takes us to what we were talking about at the top of the hour about the stories that are out there that we're surprised they're not getting a lot of traction. You know, if Biden's desk, for example, had been bugged, the media would have had pictures. They would have had a cameraman going under the desk to show where the bug was. But because it was Trump's desk that supposedly was bugged, nothing to see here. Just move along.
There would have been an investigative committee. It would have been all over TV. They would have had, it would have been like January 6th. You know, they would have had that witch hunt there, and they would have had somebody hanging from a noose on the 6 o'clock news.
Question, if somebody had shot Biden in the ear in July, do you think that they'd still be talking about it? I think so.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I mean, they have nothing to say about Biden. They can't go back and talk about all the great things he did. As a matter of fact, you look at the high gas prices, that carried over from his administration. The egg situation, that carried over from his administration. Weird little caveat here. You know, I can't buy eggs unless it's like, you know, $8, $9, $10 a dozen. You know,
I saw an interesting story on the news yesterday. There's one thing about American citizens; they're entrepreneurial. There's a guy, Bill, who is renting a chicken and a chicken, like a small chicken pen and a chicken a hen house, and you can for $500, I guess, a month, you can have a chicken in your house, in your property. You get the chicken. They say it'll lay an egg a day. An egg a day. You have to really love your eggs, you know, salad or something. So, and apparently people he's got a list of people who want this. Oh,
are the chickens healthy? I guess I would ask.
And I think it also answers the question: what comes first, the chicken or the egg? But I mean, in this case, it's the chicken.
The chicken,
yeah.
But you know, my point is on the eggs.
Yeah.
You know, the eggs are so high, you can't get them. You know, I go to a restaurant, well, we don't have eggs, and if we do, sorry, you're going to pay 3 times. You know, that egg is $1.25. You know, just to buy and us to cook it and everything else, it's gone way up. And I'm sitting there going, but it seems rotisserie chicken hasn't gone up in price.
Well, it's true. Has spaghetti gone up in price? Have noodles gone? And they're made with eggs, right?
Yeah, they're made with eggs, and I've noticed that. And I sit there and we had spaghetti last night. I paid 99 cents for the box of noodles. You know, I mean, maybe the most you'd pay is $2.19, depending on the brand. But to me, I get the noodles. I'm going 99 cents. That's the one. You know, I mean, you know, I put all my effort in the sauce.
Yeah,
in the meat.
You put all your eggs into the sauce, and that basket.
Damn right I do.
So I think that I don't know. I saw it was like 3 times the cost of eggs. Where it used to cost like $2 for a dozen eggs, now it's like $9 for a dozen eggs. And this is, by the way, this isn't Trump, and the media, by the way, is trying to blame Trump. It has nothing to do with Trump. This is Joe Biden, folks.
Yeah, but they're trying to stack everying on him. Did you see the Southwest airline that was coming in for a landing?
What a pilot, Bill. What a pilot.
Yeah, he did a pull up and go around. That should have been a collision on, you know, coming down on a commuter jet or a private jet that was taxiing across the runway. Now they're saying, you know, I mean, the pilot was going, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
As he pulled up.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, you know, they're trying to blame it on one thing. I'm going, that's ground control.
Sure.
Ground control, you know, was that pilot in that plane not paying attention, needs to have his license yanked? Maybe. Or maybe, but ground control didn't see it either. So nobody was paying attention in the tower and on ground control. The first thing you do, you fire up the engines on that plane.
But I got to tell you something, all right? This goes, in my opinion, to the fact that there's a camera everywhere nowadays. Everywhere. Case in point, this really and truly happened to me. I was flying into Philadelphia, and literally we were just about ready to touch down when all of a sudden it was full throttle, nose up, and we were taking off. And the pilot came on about 30 seconds later and said, "Sorry about that, folks. We had to go do a go around because we had a plane pull onto the runway." And I thought to myself, this has happened more often than you can imagine. It's just that nowadays there is a camera everywhere, folks. I mean, think about it. When you go out in your front yard, somebody's got a blink or some other kind of ring or something taking pictures of you. Go ahead.
What they're trying to do, all these things are going on, and they're saying Trump, 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 Trump. They're trying to blame it on Trump, and actually the incidents are down during the start of his presidency than with Biden. And we do have, I hate to say it, but we do have diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, I'm not worried about, somebody because of their male or female. I'm not worried about it because of their race. I'm worried about it because of the qualifications, because under DEI, we've lowered the standards, and the standards have crossed over into the execution of the job. They're trying to fluff off the thing over the Potomac, and it turns out the pilot of the helicopter was, most likely, at fault. There were so many things gone wrong. Well, let's shut up about it. It doesn't look good for us, and it was a mistake. I don't even know why you do military training in an area of commercial civilian flights. That's just stupid.
Yeah. President Trump was signing a bill yesterday. I don't know if you saw this or not. He is taking the security clearances away from a law firm in D.C. that was involved. They had worked pro bono, I guess, to go after President Trump, helping Jack Scott and his band of merry thugs to bring down former President Trump when he was a former president. And so here's how it went. I want you to listen to this little back and forth with the media.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who worry that targeting an individual firm or individuals who aren't Jack Smith?
Excuse me, I've been targeted for 4 years, longer than that. So you don't tell me about targeting. I was the target of corrupt politicians for 4 years, and then 4 years after that. So don't talk to me about targeting.
Yeah, this reporter was saying, do you think it's fair to be targeting a private business, a private law firm, And President Trump said, essentially, nobody's been targeted more than me. I was targeted for 4 years of the presidency, and then 4 years after that. So don't come after me. The media ignored that. The media they essentially applauded going after President Trump. Oh, they would. How many times did you hear 32 felony charges or whatever it was, 31 felony charges? They kept throwing that around like this was Al Capone, President Trump. So these are the same people, folks, that President Trump is talking. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he looks at some of these leftist media who come in every day into his office to ask ridiculous questions. I guess he figures that they're pretty stupid and he can answer all of them. I mean, he did a good job there. Don't talk to me about targeting. He said, I've been targeted for 8 years. Anyway, I'm looking at the clock on the wall. There's so much going on in our world, folks. I see where Eric Swalwell, I got the audio. I'm hesitant to play it. A reporter was following him around the parking garage, asking him, do you think it's fair that you were allowed to essentially sleep with a spy, and you essentially got away with it, yet you're asking for a punishment of other people? And I'm trying to be diplomatic. This reporter was very direct, and at some points he even got a little. His language got a bit salty, and Swalwell he couldn't get into his car fast enough. He was like he was on fire. I think that you're going to see some of the things we're talking about. We're waiting to hear about the Epstein. That'll just be dropped. I don't think there'll be a big lead up to that. I think that when they decide to drop the Epstein files on the media, they'll drop it. And
the media is waiting for it. They're prepared for it. Best time to drop it is when they're not ready for it, and then drop it and let it go splat all over the place.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. It could be any time, folks. So hang in there. This administration hasn't forgotten, and there are a lot of things. By the way, we talked about the drones in New Jersey. I think they'll come out with more of an explanation in the not too distant future. Myself.
The Epstein may be the final chapter of the book, but it's going to be a big chapter, and there's going to be a lot to it, because I think when you get to the Epstein thing, you might dot a lot of I's, cross a lot of T's. You might get into the adrenochrome thing, the child trafficking, the whole 9 yards. It is a big bite to take. So maybe that drop needs to wait a little bit until everything else comes to light, and then, and here's the icing for the cake.
I also think that, we have to remember that a lot of the key people that are going to play an important part in the prosecution of some of these criminals, they just got into office. I mean, literally, some of them, like Kash Patel, got in, a week ago? Mm-hmm. So maybe their thought is, look, we got to give these cabinet members, these people who are going to be involved directly,
get their footing.
A little time to, unpack their bags and get used to the office before we start going after these people. So I would say patience. Hang in there. Don't let it overwhelm you. It's going to happen. We have our people there, and it's going to happen. I should remind people that what you can have happen sooner rather than later is you can have a great cup of coffee with Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's available at rightsideshop.com, and it's a delicious medium blend roast and medium decaf. We have both versions for people who have high blood pressure. You want the decaf? We got it for you. Also, we have a new brand called Mappa, Make America Percolate Again. And you'll want that one, never mind for the coffee, which is delicious. You'll want it for the bag. You'll want to frame it and stick it on a wall in a very prominent place in your house. That's right. You want to have a framed bag of our coffee in your living room, let's say. It's an honored place right above the fireplace. Oh, I like your new piece of art. What's that? That's our Mappa bag of coffee from Jim and Bill. They're fantastic people. Isn't it a nice piece of art? How much did you pay for that? Oh, I can't tell you. It's too expensive.
You know what? I think there might be a Mappa cup in the work today.
Really?
With the artwork for the Mappa coffee.
Yeah.
You might make we might do a Mappa cup, because I thought that piece of artwork is kind of cool. And I've seen similar duplications of it, not it though. So maybe it's time to put it out.
Well, we were first, Bill. We were first. We remember
we were first.
Yes.
And we have one design that's out there that we haven't even talked about or released yet. That might be a coffee, it might be a cup, might be both.
So many things happening. I'm so excited. I'm like a little kid on Christmas. Anyway, you can also hear Juan Jose and the Border Crossers sing the jingle. Only with this coffee brand, though, because it wouldn't make any sense if they sang it like on another brand of coffee. But it makes sense when they sing it for Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Listen.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
They do that so well. Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee. I haven't got much more, Bill, to add. It's been a busy program. You have anything to point out before we call it a day?
Well, I'll just mention Christine Holmes says that she has indicated ice leakers. They're about to be having the hammer dropped on them.
Yeah, I heard she's talking about jail time for these people.
Yeah, so you got that, and
well, actually, was it Anna Polina Luna who said they should be executed? One of them said capital punishment for these people because they put these agents in physical danger.
Yeah. Now, apparently, our lady that is what's her name? Is it Patrizia Cavazzoni? Anyway, she's the head doctor of the FDA, and she has quit. It was Kennedy who said that a lot of these people are beholden to big pharma. She quit, took a $500,000 job with Pfizer.
Well, there you go.
I'm sitting there going, and that's before the bonuses. Who owns Pfizer?
Pfizer is a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, who owns it?
I don't know who owns it.
Oh, okay.
Who owns it?
I don't know. I was
no,
asking,
it's owned by it's a wholly owned company of Pfizer. They're one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world, if not the biggest.
So $500,000 makes more than the president plus perks and bonuses.
Yeah, she'll be doing fine. She won't have to worry about being in the unemployment line anytime soon.
You know, the thing that I don't like about, I don't know why there's not a drug company out there that's not really drugs. Drugs are chemicals because you can patent and license those. There are things out there that are holistic, natural, that can do the same thing as those drugs, but not harm you. I love listening to disclaimers, all the great things it'll do. And then you find out, it'll give you warts on your face, give you diarrhea and make your voice change and everything else. And I'm like going,
the very last one they throw in, and that long list will say, or sudden death.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that sounds really good to me.
Yeah. I want a bunch of those.
Benadryl now it causes over-the-counter stuff causes dementia.
Hey, listen, I went into a store yesterday. I bought some Coricidin. Some people call it Well, it's Coricidin. Coricidin HDP, high blood pressure medicine. HBP. I've done it 1,000 times in my life. I was at the register, and the woman said, "May I see your ID?" I said, "Excuse me?" "Yeah, I have to see your ID for the Coricidin." I said, "What? Do I look too young to buy it?" She said, "No." She said, "What happens is, it's a random flagging process. Some people apparently use the ingredients in Coricidin to get high."
You know what? They did that with the meth thing when people were cooking the meth.
Yeah.
If you went in and said, what was it? I guess there was Benadryl, but there was a Sudafed or something like that you would buy.
Yeah.
They would sit there and say, "ID, please," and they would record that.
Well, what's interesting is I had to show my license. They scanned it, and she said, "I can't even give you a break, mister, because the computer freezes, and I can't go beyond this point. My lane will be stacked up." I said, "Don't worry, no worries." I said, I'm using this for analogy.
Yeah, they're tracking how much you buy, because if you buy over a certain amount, then they're going to say, this guy might be cooking up something in his garage illegal, and they'll be up before they kick down the door. That's how they track it.
Isn't that amazing? Well, anyway, all I can tell you, hey, listen, you can hear it in my voice today. I got a little allergy situation here, and I needed my Coricidin. That's what they all say, sir. Put your hands behind your back and lower your head as you get into the back seat.
I'm doing the coffee and Ricola, and the Ricola gives me a blue tongue for whatever reason.
Oh, really?
It looks like I'm.
Are you talking about Ricola?
Yes, Ricola. There it is.
Okay.
But yeah, and my tongue turns blue from it, and I'm like going, "Am I turning into a Smurf?"
Hey, by the way, Juan Jose and the Border Crossers, did we let them sing?
No, you did not, and they're mad.
Oh, they looked impatient. They started to give me a dirty. Okay, guys, you want to sing? Marvelous. All right, now go sit down in the corner, be nice, and eat your taco. Anyway, I'm just about done here. You have anything else you want to add to today's program? It's been a fun show. A lot of things going on, and we touched a lot of different topics.
For my radio friends out there, and the thing that we did, I didn't want to get into the woods and radio again, but what I did say about the community service and the role that radio played in the years, and we've given it up, that would be a good topic for radio guys to take in your little groups out there and talk about. You worry about where it's going. It's going to hell, and where it came from. That would be a good debate for you to have. Other than that, I think there's only one thing left to do. Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.